This is a dynamic warm-up that you can do before you play pickleball, and it can also be used as a cool down after you play pickleball. This gives your body a transition period between maybe sitting in your car or sitting on your couch before you get to the pickleball courts, and then getting into the sport, as well as transitioning out of activity. Our body's not meant to go from 0 to 100, even though we're kind of used to being able to speed up quickly and accelerate in our cars. Even in that, there's a ramp up period when we're hitting the accelerator when we're in our cars. So if you have a known injury, you're going to want to spend a little bit more time warming up that particular body part, but largely this can kind of help you tune into if there's a part of your body that maybe needs a little bit more time to warm up based on what might feel tight or sore or a little bit stiffer as you're going through it. So we're going to start just by pumping our arms and marching in place. Just kind of getting the blood flowing through your body, and it's a relatively low impact. And then from here, we're going to bring our arms out to the side, keep marching, clench your fists together so you can feel the muscles contracting all the way down your arms, making tight, tight circles. If you want, you can hold your pickleball paddle in your hand as well, but I like to kind of keep it just your body at first. We're gonna go switch to the other direction, and then little by little, doing 5 circles forward, 5 circles backward, trying to make the motion bigger with each circle that you do. We're exploring to see how much motion our shoulder joint can give us right now, as well as starting to wake up the muscles that are going to be gripping the paddle and stabilizing us as we turn. Okay, so then from there, we're going to take our arms and explore those end ranges of motion. Now, we don't often go for a lob, but when we do, we want to make sure that our body is ready to go there, as opposed to being stiff and then all of a sudden throwing your arm up and hurting yourself. So I like to have people look up and reach up, because most of the time we have to look up at the ball as well, and we don't want our necks to be too stiff to look up there. Okay, great. Now we're going to move down to the legs. With the legs, we like to warm up the hips, knees, and ankles, especially because this is our contact with the ground. All of them are affected when we're stepping. So I like to start warming up the hips by making some circles with our knees and trying to explore the edges of getting our hips out to the side, our knees out to the side and coming forward. Notice how I'm trying to keep my hips pointed forward. I'm not twisting my whole body around. So very focused here. I also like to try to bring my leg back behind me and back behind me, especially for those moments where I have to maybe take a step back and reset. And then from there, I'm gonna come down into a gentle squat, kind of like when we're up at the kitchen line. And I'm just gonna do some steps side to side. Sometimes I'll do 2. We could even do a crossover, like when we're going to dink the ball, taking a step out to the side, moving forward, right? We're trying to imitate the steps that we're gonna be making when we are playing pickleball, especially up at the kitchen line. Okay, then from there, I'm gonna do some heel raises. I'm going to do 10 heel raises with my knees straight, and then we're gonna do 10 with our knees bent. And the reason is because we have 2 different muscles at work. One more so when our knees are straight, and the other when our knees are bent. When our knees are straight, that's more realistic to when we are up in kind of our upright position, maybe down at the baseline more. But when we're at the kitchen, our knees are bent. And so that original calf muscle, when our knees are straight, are not working as much. They're not biased as much when our knees are bent up at the court. So I want to make sure both of those are warmed up. Perfect. So we've warmed up the arms and the neck. We've warmed up the hips, knees, ankles, so through the legs. Then what I would like to do is warm up the trunk. Now when we're playing pickleball, we don't play like this, right? We're not robots. We need to be able to have a swinging motion, a rotational motion of our trunk separate from our hips. Because if you can imagine, going to swing and our whole body's stiff, it's gonna take our whole momentum around. So we wanna be able to isolate our trunk separate from our hips. As I'm doing this, I'm imagining my spine is a pole and my rib cage is rotating around that pole. I'm not trying to turn my shoulders, right? I'm just trying to use my rib cage to turn and twist over and around that spine. Similarly, I'm keeping my head isolated and my hips isolated from my trunk. So I'm not turning my head too. I'm not cheating and, trying to tilt my head at all. my trunk is rotating separate from my hips. And I'm trying to go for smooth, continuous motion. I'm not trying to do it jerky. And then we're gonna switch down to our hips, where our hips are doing the same thing in twisting, separate from the upper body. And this is important when we're trying to turn and keep our body oriented towards the net, towards our opponent, to be able to get to the ball without tweaking our back, throwing out our back or our neck or anything like that. And then when you get comfortable with that, you're going to have your chest go opposite from your hips. And this is kind of similar to when we're walking. People are used to seeing this when they're swimming. If you're going up for a lob, our body kind of moves in this opposite arm, opposite leg pattern. So we want to imitate that. Good. Once you're finished with all that, we're going to end with what I call clock steps. You're going to take a step forward as if you're going to 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, straight out to the side. Notice how my toes are pointing forward as I'm doing this right now. I'm not twisting on this one because I'm wanting to stay oriented straight. I'm repeating it on the other side. Good. If you'd like, you can hop out to the side. Just know I want you to jump off of that leg and land here as opposed to twisting your knee and trying to get that way. That's not going to be very fun, especially if you have knee pain. So you can do clock steps or clock hops on either side. Just imitating movements that you're likely to get into when you're playing pickleball, as opposed to only being at the net and dinking a little bit here, because that's not realistic. The game uses all of our available ranges. So good job. Give that warm up a try. You can use it as a cool down too, especially the areas of your body that tend to be more prone to getting super sore or stiff either before or after the game. Keep those in mind and have fun.